Hello everybody, this is Michael Hollands once again for Sound of the Movies. Today I have the pleasure to be joined by Eric Serra. On today's episode, we will talk extensively about his new film score Anna, as well as about his collaboration with director Luc Besson, with whom he has formed one of the most successful director-composer relationships in film history. Welcome, Eric.
Oh, thank you very much.
Eric, you have had a very fruitful collaboration with director Luc Besson, which started back in 1983, if I'm not mistaken, when you scored Les Derniers Combats. Could you tell me how you met Luc Besson?
Yes, of course. Well, we met when we were 18 years old, and so that was actually in 1978 or 9. Yeah, I think 1979, and we met in a recording studio where because I was already a musician, professional musician. I mean, I was doing sessions, like I was session musician and performer. And so at this time, I was not yet a composer. I mean, not to my knowledge. And I was recording guitars for a French singer who happened to be at this same time. This guy was writing a movie and developing a movie with a young guy. And at this time, so Luc and I are the same age, and we are both. We have 6 months difference, and so at this time, Luc was 18 too, and he hadn't done anything yet. He had been an assistant on one movie, I think, but that's it. And I was already working as a musician, and so one day during those sessions, Luc came by to visit his friend, and that's how we met. And he saw me, he heard me playing guitars, and I was doing like guitar solos, like a lot of improvisation, which, and at this time, it was very common to do big guitar solos at the end of a song. It was this moment, this period where there was those guitar heroes, and I was kind of that was my plan, to be a guitar hero. And I had been doing this, since I was born. So I was I could do it, and Luc was very impressed by this because I was improvising. And actually, it was a very weird situation because the album of this singer, he had a whole band and a real group. And the album was finished, but he was not happy. They were not happy with the guitar solos. And they had heard about me from another session thing, and they had called me to redo all the guitar solos on the album. And that's the day when Luc came to visit him, and so he was very impressed because I was improvising guitar solos, and it was usually one shot and it was okay, which for any professional guitarist is normal. There was nothing amazing. It was just normal. But for Luc, who was not a musician, that was amazing. And a few months later, after that, he did his first short movie, and he asked me to compose the music for it. And my first reaction was to tell him that I was not a composer, I was just a musician. And but he did insist because he thought that the way I was improvising was meaning that I was a composer. And so he insisted, and at some point I said, well, okay, why not? I'll try. And that's how I started composing, actually. I mean, professionally, because I realized years later that I was actually composing. But I was doing this in my bedroom just for fun. I was recording stuff, and which was actually composing, but I was not putting it into words. So I didn't know I was a composer, and now I thank Luc every day for finding out that I was a composer before me. And so that was the first experience, and then he called me again for the one you said before, the Le Dernier Combat, which was the last battle, which was his first big movie, and then he called me again for the second one and for the third one, and etc.
How do you actually communicate? What exactly does Luc look for in a score? How does he communicate what he wants, and how do you respond to that?
Well, usually the first thing, especially in the first few years, the first, like, let's say the first 15 years, we were at the same time best friends. We still are best friends, but he works so much now that we don't see each other very much apart from when we're working together. But at this time, we would see each other more, like normal friends do. And so usually it would start with him calling me and saying, "I have an idea of a new movie. Let's go for dinner. I'm gonna tell you the story." Then we would go for dinner. You would tell me the story of the movie, and so that was like putting in soil the first seed, and then so I would start thinking about it, but not working, just thinking about this new idea, this movie. So, for example, of course, the best example is The Big Blue. When he told me about this movie, obviously after that I was thinking of the sea and underwater and stuff like that, and was just trying to be in the mood. And then usually I wait for the movie to be finished to compose. I like to compose really watching the images, to be inspired directly by the images. But even if I do that, all this time between the moment he told me about the movie and the movie is done, all those months that I've been thinking of it, it's kind of work that's been done, even though it's abstract and even though I didn't record one note, I've been thinking of it. So it means that when I receive the movie and the movie, the first cut, and I can start working on it, I'm ready. It's like for an actor to get ready to play a role. You create your character, you create a way to move, an accent, all those kind of things. And it's a bit similar for me when I do a movie. I like when it's possible, when I know early enough, then I think about it. It's doing some weird magic, invisible cooking. Then when I start working, I'm already ready for it. So that's usually how it works. Then when the movie is done, and so the first concrete thing we do together with Luc is that we usually we watch the whole movie together, and then he would tell me on each scene the role is expecting from me, like what the music should bring in each scene. And he is very precise about this. He's always been very, very precise, very clear. He knows exactly, in each scene, he knows exactly what he wants the music to bring as an emotion. It's like he's leaving this a very important part to the music on each scene, especially at this time in the 80s and the 90s, because it was also the time of music videos and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was the music was, I think, more important than now in the movies. And Luc was like me. We were from this generation, so Luc was using it really well. And so he was very, very precise. Like he would tell me, in this scene, I want you I want the people to feel like they are this character, because with the music, I think, for example, one of the power of the music in the movie is that, for example, in a scene with 3 characters, the music will make you identify to one or the other character or the other one. You don't know why. You will identify. I mean, the music can do this, make you identify to a very specific character, and you will not know that it's the music, but you will identify to this character because we wanted it.
Exactly.
We made it happen. And Luc is very precise with this. And so he will tell me, okay, in this scene, I want the audience to feel like they are this character. That's what I want them to feel. I want this emotion. And so he would be very precise about that. He knows exactly where he wants the music to start and to stop on each scene, and very, very precisely, and the emotion. Then I'm completely free to bring this emotion with anything, like with electric guitar or synthesizers or percussions or symphonic orchestra. He doesn't care as long as I bring the right emotion. So it's always, so that's why we always have those discussions that are very abstract, actually, because we are just talking about emotions, feelings, and very abstract things. We don't speak about music, and but we are lucky. It works. We understand each other,
Right.
and because the thing is that when you talk about those kind of things, they are very abstract, and so they are full of possible misunderstandings. But we have been lucky; we understand each other, and I think that's the case for all the duets like this in the movie business.
Yes.
Like all the directors and composers that are linked, and like I don't know, Spielberg and Williams, or Danny Elfman with Tim Burton, or there are many, or Ennio Morricone with Sergio Leone at this time. I think that when you meet your
Musical soulmate, perhaps.
well, yeah, something like this. So when you meet this person, there is no reason to change, because I think it's a very, very big luck. And so, we have been very lucky, and so he's usually very happy with my work because he gets what he wants, and obviously I'm very happy to work with him because I have a very beautiful role to play.
Absolutely. I mean, you seem to have a great emotional connection, and that's what it's all about, delivering music which connects the audience to a movie, to a character, to a certain scene. And you and Luc seem to deliver just that. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's, Subway from the mid-'80s, which you scored, for which you used some great electronic and synth equipment. Then in the 90s, you were really on a roll. You delivered of course, Leon, The Professional, Nikita, Atlantis, The Fifth Element, so many great films and great scores. And especially for Leon, The Professional, I believe you wrote one of your very best themes, as far as I'm concerned. and it's
Oh, thank you.
and yeah, I really
I
mean
like it
that.
too.
It's
Yeah,
one of
thank you.
you're very welcome. It's one of the most recognizable films in film history for me. It's so emotional. It's so well written.
Yeah, it's bizarre because when sometimes journalists they ask me what's my favorite soundtrack of mine, and it's a very difficult question because it's like, they're all like my. I don't. I know it's a bit cliche, but they are all like my children. So how could I prefer one of them? And but at the same time, when it happens to me to listen to my music, which is quite rare because I don't like to listen to my music. It's like it's like watching old photos of myself. So I'm not very. I mean, no, really. It doesn't happen very often because I prefer to listen to other musicians' music. Obviously, it's like watching myself in the mirror. So I do it when I have to, but so once in a while I have to listen to my music for like I don't know record company reason or anything, and so the, so it's always a bit funny because it's as I say it's a bit like watching old photos like when I was a kid, but the Leon the professional, this one always makes me a very strong emotion. It's like it's I find it impressive. It's like I'm impressed by this music, which is very bizarre because that's the only soundtrack I did that makes me feel this way. The others, sometimes I think it's cool, it sounds cool, or sometimes I think it sounds very childish or fun or whatever, but I know it's me and I'm like, okay, it makes me smile.
Yeah.
But Leon, the professional, it makes me feel something bizarre, like it's like, it impresses me.
Yeah.
I find it stronger than me.
Yeah, I mean, and it impresses you, and rightfully so. I mean, it's one of your top five scores, and what you also do so well in your scores is you create a song version of one of the main themes, which you also did on Nikita, for instance, on Big Blue, and also for Anna, your most recent film
Uh-huh.
with
Yeah.
Luc Besson. How do you create a song which is based on a tune? How do you write the lyrics? How does it all come together for you?
Um, well, usually it's one of the main theme of the movie. It doesn't work each time actually, but sometimes the theme is it's obvious that it could be a song because when a theme is good enough, you can make like a hundreds of different arrangements and versions. And so if the theme is good enough, you can make a song out of it. And and then you I don't know, you just work on it like when you compose a song, except that you already have the main theme. So it's just like turning it into a song. It's not I don't find it especially difficult. It's quite easy actually because you already have the theme. So what's the most difficult to find when you write a song is a hook, like or a melody, a theme. So when you already have it, it's quite easy. And for the lyrics, well, usually first I rarely write the lyrics myself for movies. I do for my solo stuff, but in the movies, usually I do ask Luc when it's Luc's movie. I do ask him to write the lyrics because as he is the one who wrote the movie, I usually I ask him, listen, I want to do a song. What would you like the song to say? Because it's your movie. So if one can compress like some in some words what the movie is about, you are in the best position to do it. So I usually ask Luc. So, for example, the song in Big Blue, he wrote the lyrics. The song in the last one, Anna, he wrote the lyrics. Which one also? In the Fifth Element, it's different because the song at the end, I had it was a song from my solo album that was already done. So it's not a song from the movie; it's the opposite. But yeah, usually I do ask Luc, and this time for Anna, it was just originally I did a very short version of this song that's in the movie, inside the movie, in the kind of love scene, and that's afterwards that I decided to do a real song, like a 3.5 minute song, like a single. Once I had finished the whole soundtrack, I decided to do a song because I really liked this song and I thought it was worth it to do a full version of it. And so originally I had asked Luc to write the lyrics, which he did for the part that's inside the movie. But then when I did the long version, I did ask him, okay, I want to do a long version. Would you like to do the missing lyrics, or you don't care and you let me do it?
Right.
And he was busy enough, so he didn't have time to do this. So he said, no, you go ahead, you do it. And so that's why I did half the lyrics because of this reason. And so, but it was a bit special exercise because as he had already written half of it, well, I had to fit in this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I had to kind of continue what he had started.
Great. The film Anna deals with a person who joins the KGB and she becomes an assassin. So to some extent, it's a subject matter which you and Luc already explored. On Nikita, La Femme Nikita, and also The Professional, Leon. But it still feels a bit different. How did you try to tackle this film musically? Because the score feels dark and moody at times. How did you try to bring the story to life with your music?
Oh, I rarely conceptualize when I compose. It's purely emotional. So usually I compose what I feel, and I watch the movie, and especially this time, I had a very short time to do it, to do the whole score, because Luc, for some reason, called me. Originally when he called me for the movie, he said, just one little problem, you have to deliver in 3 weeks.
Oh God!
And which and especially me, I'm quite slow. I don't like. I know that in Hollywood, a lot of composers can do a soundtrack in 5 or 6 weeks. I know that's common, but I am not like this. I don't like it. I like to have a little bit of time because I like to really work on it. I like to do something good, and so for me, 3 weeks was really like absurd. It was impossible, and but apparently I had no option. That's all I had. So I started working on it, and thanks God, after a couple of weeks, Luc told me, "Okay, I managed to have 5 more days for you."
Great.
and bits by bits, finally, I had all together I would say a month and a half. So probably like 6 weeks, which is very short for me, but at least it was possible. But so it means I was really under huge pressure, and I didn't really have time to hesitate, you know. So I was composing very, very quickly, I was very focused, very concentrated for 1.5 months, non-stop. I was just into this soundtrack, and but apart from that, you know, I have no concept usually. I'm watching the movie and I compose what it inspires me. And so obviously this one was quite dark and action, and at the same time very emotional because this girl Anna is very touching. You know, you feel like a poor girl.
Yes.
And so the emotion was it was coming from the movie, and how, because you didn't ask me this, but I suppose you are meaning this a little bit too, is how didn't you do the same thing as Nikita? Well, because we are like almost 30 years later, and I have changed too. So my music, my culture is different. I'm not the same age, and so it didn't do the same. It didn't inspire me the same as Nikita because we are 30 years later, and so it inspired me something different. But it's the inspiration comes purely from the movie.
I mean, the score still features, I believe, some of your signature sound, if you will, and textures and compositional techniques. At least that's what I feel when I listen to the album. And speaking of the album, did you also produce the album yourself this time again?
Oh yeah, always, yeah.
I've heard there will be a physical CD as well.
No, I mean, there is a CD in France. I did manage, because, you know, for me, it's very frustrating nowadays when they just do an electronic release, because to me it's abstract. I don't have an object. I need my little object, and so when I do release a soundtrack just electronically, I feel like I've worked for nothing because I don't have the object with me. So in France, I did insist with the record company. I did insist that I was, you know, I wanted to have a CD. I wanted a CD, and I did insist so much that they finished by accepting, and so they did release a CD in France. But that's the only country where I did manage to do this. So I don't. So no, in America, obviously they are not going to do this. So they just releasing it electronically, and it's something, you know, very frustrating for me. Because you know, since I've been doing this job, I have all my CDs, and bit by bit, you know, it's more and more, and it's like what I've done in my life. So when suddenly I don't even have something concrete to put on the shelf, I feel like I haven't done anything.
Yeah, I get your point. I mean, but it's pretty common today to have a download, a digital release.
Yeah,
but I know what you mean. I would feel the same way if I were you. May I ask what you are currently working on? What's next for you? What can your fans look forward to besides Anna?
Yeah, so right now I'm working on a music album, a kind of solo album. It's not exactly solo album because there are going to be some guests, but I mean, it's not a soundtrack. It's just an album, and I am a bit more than halfway on this album, so it will be released probably, I would say, probably next spring. And so it's my big project. It's a very important one for me.
Great.
It's it's my dark side of the moon, I would say. And so that's, I know it's a bit mysterious, but I can't say a lot about it so far because it's still in process. So it's a bit ridiculous to talk about it. But so that's the main thing I'm doing right now. Otherwise, I'm doing also concerts with my band, and I'm doing different kind of concerts because probably you might not know this. In France, they know, but maybe not over there. And so I have a band, and we play my soundtracks, but in a very live version, so it's completely adaptation, and it's more very pop and fusion jazz versions. So it would be something between Pink Floyd and Weather Report. So it's not at all like those composers who do the symphonic concerts. It's very different. The mood is very it's rock energy. So we do pop, rock, jazz concerts, and we play the excerpts from all the soundtracks I did. And so that's a very fun thing that I really love to do, and I've been doing this for many years now. And on the other side, I've put up 1 year ago. We started a ciné-concert. When you play the whole movie, but you play the music live. So we do this also with the Big Blue.
Great.
And it's actually the first ciné-concert, or whatever you call it, that is not with a symphonic orchestra also, because we play the Big Blue music really exactly the precise music, note by note, and with the original song sounds.
Wow.
So it's a very, very complicated thing we did put together. If I had known how complicated it would be, I would never have done this. But when I started, it was too late, so I had to finish. And so we did it last year, and it was very successful. And so it was so successful that next year we are doing a big tour with this in France. And so it's a complete different exercise than my usual band, but it's very fun too. And so it's a big thing we do now, and that takes me a few time. And then next year I have a couple of movies too that I'm supposed to score. So the ciné-concert, the Big Blue ciné-concert, next year we do it mainly in France and also in Belgium and Switzerland. I mean, there is one night in Belgium and one night in Switzerland.
Eric, thank you so very much for taking so much time out of your busy schedule. I really had a blast talking to you.
Pleasure.
It was a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as well. And
yes.
It was so great to talk to you, and I wish you all the best for your future projects, and I hope we get to do more interviews in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael, and same to you. I wish you the best for the future.
Likewise.
And whenever you want, yes, we will do this again.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye, Eric.
Thank you. Bye-bye.